so I'm Schram, and I'm going to bring you into the world of Pinterest today. I'm going to start by talking about digital rhetoric. I found that digital rhetoric is the art of persuading and being persuaded, knowingly or unknowingly, within a digital space. Throughout the past few years, social media has become much more prominent online and within individuals that are in the online space. And with that brings a whole new opportunity for digital rhetoric online. And I found that the influence and the idea of identity within social media has been growing, and the development of identity, such as creating a profile, has become much more part of ourselves, both online and offline. The complex negotiation is part of the user's identity that they create. It's called a complex negotiation between our online and our offline selves. So what that means is you have the opportunity to bring aspects of your offline self onto your online profile, or you can completely create a new online profile. So you can say, for example, for me, I could say I'm a 50-year-old man, and nobody would know the difference because it's online sphere. The use of persuasion in social media allows users to be persuaded and to persuade others to an idea or an action without fully realizing it. What I mean by this is, if you are on Pinterest, which is a type of social media that's very similar to your curation platform, as you can tell, if you're on here and you see a pin that tells you how to make food, you could be persuaded by that to make the item without even knowing that you were persuaded to make the item. So, when I'm talking about Pinterest, there are a few words that I want to define. A pin is one of these little square boxes here, and that's just content that is pasted onto Pinterest. A board is this entire frame, and this one you can see is the DIY and crafts, which stands for do-it-yourself and crafts. Following means that you are following a user, so if I really like this pin right here, and I think that Linda is really awesome, she has a lot of awesome pins, I can follow her, and then her pins will show up on my homepage, so I have more access to them, whereas I don't have to search for her. Repins are any of these pins that have been repinned. So if I really like this pin right here, I can repin it, which means it's not my original pin, but it is pinned to my board. And then users are also able to comment on a pin. An example of that is up here. You can add your own comment, and these are just some of the comments that were added on the image. So more than half of Pinterest users use the site every day. And what that means is that Pinterest users are very loyal to the service, and they are not always thinking about it, but they're usually very interactive within the space, and they think about it when they're not on it. So rhetoric in Pinterest, I'm going to bring up an example of this. There's a company called Whole Food Markets, and they pin images of healthy, good-looking food to get users to come into their store and buy their products. But they also pin images and videos of healthy, recycled or reused products, so that people can think that their corporate image is more becoming green, which also influences user identity because they can believe that or they can choose not to believe that. It depends on what the user wants to believe. So being invited to share your opinions, likes, and views, Pinterest becomes rhetorical on a digital invitational level. Invitational rhetoric is the idea of sharing thoughts, opinions, and ideas, which is the goal of Pinterest. So you can see here, most of these pins are ideas or crafts that one person has had that they thought were really cool that they wanted to try, or that they wanted to persuade other users to try. And another one of the ideas within invitational rhetoric is that you can extend ideas. So if you have an idea, you can post it as a pin, and then another user might comment on it and say, well, maybe you should try this, it might work better, or I tried this, it might work better. And then you can critically think about all of the ideas that are offered. So there might be another perspective that you hadn't thought of. You're like, oh, that's pretty cool, I should try that, it might work better than what I've been doing. For this reason, Pinterest has also been called an interactive scrapbook, because you can pin other items and come back to it, and then you can always share with your friends and share ideas. Also within Pinterest is interactivity, which is the ability to interact with the space. And not only are you able to interact with the space, but you're also able to interact with other users through pinning, following, likes, comments, and all of the other sort of affordances that Pinterest has. Also within Pinterest is intertextuality, which is the way that texts relate and their meaning is influenced by other texts. So for example, there are some of these pins that are pinned from videos or movies or offline websites such as Home and Garden Network channel. And then they interact with each other in that they were not original to Pinterest, but they're now on Pinterest. And the way this influences identity is that users interpret the texts and images based on their own experiences. So I may have experiences that all of you do not have, which makes me look at a pin in a different way. It makes me realize that it affects me different than it would affect any of you, because I have that experience. And one of the quotes that I found through my research was, "Subconscious is more imposed in our memory than the conscious." So we have memories that we are unconscious of that influence our identity, that we don't know are readily influencing us. So when I talk about identity, I mean how one presents their self or how one presents their self, as well as how other people view that person. Things that influence identity within Pinterest are gender and location. Pinterest is geared more towards female users, but it was not set up that way. It just kind of happened that females tended to use the space more than males because of their personality types. And then location also definitely affects the way people use Pinterest because the content is different. So if you are in Latin America, for example, you may not care about some of the things that people in North America care about. So you'll pin different ideas. However, you are also able to still see things from other areas and other cultures. So you gain access to that. So throughout my research, I found that the interactivity due to invitational rhetoric and intertextuality of the posted content on Pinterest influences the identity of Pinterest users. So through the invitational rhetoric, users are welcomed to the space and invited to use the space through pinning, repinning, liking, commenting, following, all the other affordances that are offered. Intertextuality is what users identify with within the space and how they relate it to their own lives. Not just seeing it and thinking, oh, that's pretty. You can see it and say, oh, that would look really great in my living room or in my kitchen. And then there are subtle hints within Pinterest that encourage a user to change or develop their identity further. So for example, one that I use in my paper is that if I'm looking through pins and I'm repinning a bunch of childhood or baby pins, maybe it means that I have a child or that I'm pregnant or that one of my best friends is having a child. Whereas if I completely ignored all those pins, my identity could be developed as someone who does not have a child, who's not looking to have a child anytime in the near future. And these are just subtle hints that other users can see to base the identity of the other user. So with identity in Pinterest, there are some users that are termed power users. And what this means is that they have 1 million or more followers and that they have pinned several thousand items. And I bring this up because that's another reason why Pinterest has become so popular and so how it has been growing, so that it has been catching up to Facebook and Twitter, though it's not there yet. It is showing that some pinners on Pinterest are really using the space and are really using it to grow themselves and their identity, as well as to help other people and influence other people's identities. So there are some of these pins, such as pin image number 4. They show pins that are instructional based on photos alone. So there is no text that goes along with some of the pins. So if you go click on the pin, it'll usually take you to an external site. Some of those are just images, and then some of them have textual step-by-step directions. And then through the existence and sharing of these ideas, users are influenced to become craftier or to want to become craftier, or to view being craftier as a possibility. So a user can look at a pin and think, oh, that's not so bad. For example, image number 1, it shows the basic sewing stitches. So if I have never sewed before in my life and I see this pin, I can think, oh, well, that's not so bad. Sewing it's not a hard concept. So then I would be persuaded and influenced to become a sewer based on this pin, or to want to become a sewer. So one of the other things that I really wanted to mention was the idea of cross-cultural pins within Pinterest. So this example right here, image number 5, is an image of a kimono from Japan. And if I had never heard anything about Japan before, I know nothing about their culture, I could look at this pin and I could gain knowledge about their culture through Pinterest. However, this is also a negative aspect because I could look at this pin and think, oh, Japanese people wear this every day, all day, which is not the case. So that is also something that is negative about Pinterest that also influences the user's identity because they could become more narrow-minded. So there's a difference between online and offline selves within constant negotiations that do occur. because a user could struggle to complete a task because within their online self they just have no time, or they're very uninterested in the task when they move into the offline space, which also influences their identity. So what? Why should you care that Pinterest influences you, or that Pinterest could influence your friends? I think it is really important for people to realize that there's more to Pinterest and social media than meets the eye, and it's not always a good thing to be influenced or persuaded by social media. And I think people really need to realize Pinterest's potential as a rhetorical space, as well as the power it holds within its pins.
What questions do we have for our presenter?
You talked about the concept of repinning. Whose identity is more important in that process? Is it the person who originally pinned it, or is it the person that's repinning it?
I think it's both. I think the person that originally pinned the pin, their identity is affected because people are trying to repin that pin. So it shows that they are being the user that has the pins that are the most common type of pins are the ones that are humorous or that are deeply thought-provoking. So when a user wants to repin an image, the original person that had that image pinned, their identity is being influenced because others begin to see that person as being funny or thought-provoking or influential. And then the person that repins the pin, one image that I didn't show you was image number 9. Users have the option to keep the default comment, which is the comment that was kept from the original owner, or they can rewrite their own comment. And if the users choose to write their own comment, then their identity is becoming more important because they are changing the meaning of the image based on their own experiences and personality.
You know, you mentioned the baby thing, because like my mom follows my brother's girlfriend on Pinterest, and she was like pinning baby stuff, and my mom's like, what? So it really, like, I don't know, it makes people think that you are a certain way based on the things that you pin.
And one thing with that is, maybe she just thought that it was a really cute baby bib or something, and she didn't mean anything by it. But the other users are viewing that person's identity based on what they pinned, which is another example of the unconscious self. So users are unconsciously associating that pin with her having a baby or wanting to have a baby, when it may or not be the case.
Fantastic. Really good job. Thank you, Sarah. So, you have one more question? Answer.
So, I'm not confused, but maybe if you could elaborate a little bit on the more invitational rhetoric of, like, I understand that it's influencing them, but how is it inviting them into influencing them, like, besides the wanting to become crafty? Like, does this make sense? Like, what are the clear distinctions as to what type of invitational rhetoric is drawing them in? What aspects of it?
When you go back to, I'm going to put this back up here. When you first open Pinterest, you log in and create an account, and then this is what comes up, not this board specifically, but this type of image and interface. So it's really, really easy for users to just be invited to look through the images, because all you have to do is scroll, and it comes up automatically. You don't have to search for it. And then there's pins that once you open them up, they have this bar on the top, which invites them to repin, like, and comment, and it's so easy to do that. All you do is hit the button, and then it pops up another screen that you can pin it to and create the comment. So it's invitational rhetoric in that it's really, really easy for users to use, and then it allows quick repinning and really quick searching. And it also offers categorized search, so you can go, if you click on this, it pops down with the board with all the different boards, so it can be like food and drink, or exercise, or health, or family life. So it's invitational in that it is really easy to use, and also that it is easily categorized, so you can go and automatically filter out the content that you're not interested in. That helps a little bit.
Yeah, no, that was really good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.